I think that shelter saves lives. I'll try not to choke up a little bit, but I just learned on Monday of somebody that died on the street.
Thousands of shelter beds that closed or were at risk of closing will be kept open with some new state funds just as temperatures start dropping. The money was originally set aside by lawmakers for turnkey operations after KATU's coverage last spring on these shelters. The state's housing authority announced it would conduct a needs assessment. KATU's Christina Giardinelli has covered this issue for months now. She's live in Corvallis at a shelter that is now reopening thanks to that money. Right, Christina?
Yeah, that's right. All these beds here, and there's more on the other side of the room just like them, have been sitting vacant here at the Unity Men's Shelter in Corvallis since the spring. All this while just next door, there's a field full of camps with people sleeping outside. Now, the administrators of this shelter tell me they're getting ready to reopen right now thanks to that money. For Jose Arturo Rodriguez, having a roof over his head has meant a world of difference.
Started jobbing and working security.
He says that happened after he was able to get a bed at Unity Men's Shelter. Now he wants to help others.
One day I will help volunteer here. I'll be a staff member here.
The men's shelter is getting ready to open back up after it was forced to close in June because it couldn't pay its staff. This despite the fact that Oregon Governor Tina Kotek's emergency order set aside millions for new shelter beds. Sean Collins, the executive director.
A lot of the new money, as you know, the governor and the legislature set aside was for new capacity, but that really meant that a lot of shelters that have been running for a long time didn't have the funding streams.
The pandemic money they were getting dried up. After KATU reported on this, the state's housing authorities started contacting shelters to find out how many risked closing. I obtained the results of that study through a records request. It shows over 2,000 shelter beds have either closed or are in danger of closing statewide. Now the state will spend $24 million to keep them open.
It's definitely a relief to be able to open the doors again.
The money will last roughly 8 months, according to the Housing Authority's records. Kotek announced she's asking lawmakers for $65 million more this year.
A needs assessment was announced just shortly after my coverage on closing shelters in Oregon. It does kind of beg the question, was this on your radar before that coverage, or did the coverage sort of lead to that assessment?
I think we are continuing. Well, first of all, thank you for continuing to stay on the topic. This is really important. I think one of the things that we have not had in the state is an intentional system of shelters where the state has a role in funding. And what we have been trying to figure out is, what do local communities need?
She says the $65 million will be a start in addressing the need the assessment shows.
And to the question of, was this on your radar before that coverage?
We have been working on this since day one, trying to understand how we stand up new shelter capacity, how we maintain shelter capacity. And I want to thank all the communities who have been responding. This has been hard to figure out.
Again, not really an answer to my question. Back in the spring, when I asked Kotek about shelters like these that were closing, she said she didn't think it would be a problem till next year. Live in Corvallis, Christina Giardinelli, KATU News.
Christina, thank you.